While the city of Boston is more well known for rowdy sports fans and wunderkind intellectual students, somewhere on Sumner Street, the most powerful woman in American finance quietly controls more money than the GDP of most nations. You see, while crypto bros tweet about their millions and hedge fund titans race superyachts across oceans, Abigail Johnson orchestrates the flow of nearly $5 trillion with all the fanfare of a librarian organizing books. And her corner of the financial universe in Massachusetts feels more like a careful study than a power center. Yet from here, she touches everything from your grandmother's retirement account to Wall Street's biggest trades. Thus, in today's episode, we share how, in a world where billionaires collect Manhattan penthouses like trading cards and treat private jets like Ubers, Abigail Johnson's understated approach to empire building feels almost revolutionary, as we describe. The $35 billion queen of finance, Abigail Johnson. In the world of high finance, where egos often outweigh earnings, Abigail Johnson stands as a jaw-dropping anomaly. Indeed, with a $30 billion, $240 million fortune that could fill a vault the size of Massachusetts, she hasn't just joined the Billionaires Club, she's quietly become one of its most formidable members, wielding the kind of wealth that makes Wall Street's biggest players look like they're trading monopoly money. You see, as CEO of Fidelity Investments, Johnson orchestrates a financial symphony to the tune of $4.9 trillion in customer assets. Yes, that's trillion with a T, and no, I'm not making this up. While other financial institutions change hands faster than a hot potato, she's keeping it old school, maintaining the private ownership structure her grandfather established back in 1946. Her 24.5% stake, part of the family's 49% collective ownership, has ballooned as Fidelity raked in a cool $25.2 billion in annual revenue last year. But here's where it gets interesting. Unlike the flashy billionaire crowd who treat Manhattan penthouses like Pokemon cards, gotta catch 'em all, Johnson embraces a distinctly New England approach to wealth. Her Milton, Massachusetts residence is about as showy as a cardigan at a black tie event, and that's precisely the point. The property, while certainly not a cottage, blends into its historic surroundings with all the subtlety of a proper Bostonian saying, "Park the car." From her command center at 245 Summer Street in Boston, Johnson runs an empire that would make some ancient Romans blush. The modernist building houses operations touching everything from your grandmother's retirement account to Wall Street's biggest players. And while her competitors treat CNBC appearances like their personal Instagram feed, Johnson maintains the kind of reserve that makes Swiss bankers look chatty. When she does grace the public with an appearance, it's strictly business. No gossip, no drama, just straight talk about strategy and innovation. It's refreshing, really, like a cold glass of water in an industry full of energy drinks. Under her stewardship, Fidelity has evolved from a mutual fund shop into a financial Swiss Army knife, offering everything from good old-fashioned stock trading to cryptocurrency services. They're even pulling off the ultimate magic trick, offering zero-fee investment products while still turning a profit through other revenue streams. It's like getting a free lunch and dinner too. But to truly appreciate how this Harvard Business School graduate transformed her grandfather's investment firm into a financial services juggernaut while keeping it family-owned, we need to hop in our time machine back to post-war Boston, where Edward C. Johnson II laid the first brick of what would become a financial empire that would make the Medicis look like amateur hour. The story of how Abigail Johnson would eventually rise to lead one of the world's largest investment firms began not with her own journey, but 42 years earlier, in a small Boston office where her grandfather had dared to challenge the conventional wisdom of his time. Edward C. Johnson II, born in the final years of the 19th century to a Massachusetts family, had developed an almost rebellious conviction during his years after Harvard College. That mutual funds, then seen as staid vehicles for conservative investing, could be actively managed to outperform the broader market. In 1946, when he founded Fidelity Management and Research Company, This idea was considered almost heretical in Boston's conservative financial circles. Yet Johnson, with the quiet determination that would become a family trademark, persisted. The culture he built within Fidelity's walls was one of intellectual rigor and ceaseless analysis. Every investment decision needed to be defended with research, every market move scrutinized for opportunity. This demanding environment would shape not only the company's future, but the education of his son, Edward "Ned" Johnson III, who joined the firm in 1957 after his own Harvard education. The younger Johnson proved his worth not through birthright, but through performance. His management of the Magellan Fund demonstrated that his father's philosophy of active management could produce extraordinary returns. Under his guidance, Fidelity began to expand beyond its traditional bounds, embracing technological innovation and new investment vehicles. It was into this environment of meritocracy and innovation that Abigail Johnson was born in 1961, in the comfortable but unpretentious Boston suburb of Milton. Her early education at Buckingham Browne and Nichols School, and later at Hobart and William Smith Colleges, gave no particular indication of her future role. But those who knew the family recognized a familiar pattern. The same quiet determination, the same intellectual curiosity that had marked both her father and grandfather. The family's approach to succession was methodical, almost scientific in its thoroughness. There would be no shortcuts, no executive titles bestowed without earned experience. Like her father before her, Abigail would start at the bottom, learning every aspect of the business. Her early years as a mutual fund manager brought her face to face with the fundamental challenges of investment management. Market volatility, client expectations, the constant pressure to perform. As she advanced through the company's ranks, the financial industry itself was undergoing seismic shifts. The old world of mutual fund management was giving way to index funds, electronic trading, and digital platforms. The skills that had built Fidelity's success in one era would need to be adapted for another. Yet the core philosophy remained unchanged: active management, rigorous analysis, and an unwavering focus on long-term results. When Abigail Johnson moved into her first executive office at Fidelity in 1993, the financial world still operated much as it had in her grandfather's time. Traders shouting orders across exchange floors, retail investors calling brokers for quotes, retirement accounts managed through paper statements and postal mail. But Johnson, who had spent her early years studying the mechanics of mutual fund management, saw something others didn't. The digital revolution that would transform Wall Street was already beginning. The old guard of Boston finance might have been content to wait, to let others test the waters of technological innovation. But Johnson, carrying forward her family's tradition of questioning conventional wisdom, pushed Fidelity toward the future. In 1995, when most Americans had barely heard of the Internet, she championed the launch of one of the industry's first web-based trading platforms. The decision wasn't just about technology. It represented a fundamental shift in how Americans would interact with their money. Her rise through Fidelity's hierarchy in the 1990s paralleled the rise of the digital age. Each new role she assumed, from heading the equity division to leading asset management, came with increasing responsibility and a broader mandate for transformation. The old systems, built on paper ledgers and manual processes, gave way to sophisticated trading algorithms and real-time data analysis. Under her guidance, Fidelity's investment infrastructure underwent a quiet but profound revolution. The true test of her leadership came with the 2008 financial crisis. As markets plunged and venerable institutions crumbled, the wisdom of Johnson's earlier decisions became apparent. The conservative approach to risk management she had insisted upon, combined with the robust technological infrastructure she had built, allowed Fidelity to weather the storm. While other firms frantically sought liquidity, Fidelity's strong capital reserves, a principle she had learned from both her father and grandfather, provided stability in chaos. Her appointment as president of Fidelity Financial Services in 2012 marked not just a personal milestone, but a turning point for the institution. The financial world was changing faster than ever, with mobile technology and digital payments reshaping consumer behavior. Johnson, drawing on her earlier experiences with technological transformation, pushed Fidelity further into the digital age. She invested heavily in mobile platforms, cloud computing, and the infrastructure needed for future innovation. When she assumed the CEO role in October 2014, some wondered if Fidelity's traditional strengths could be maintained alongside this drive for innovation. But Johnson understood something fundamental: the principles that had guided Fidelity since her grandfather's time: thorough research, careful risk management, and a focus on client needs, remained as relevant in the digital age as they had been in the era of paper ledgers. Yet as she settled into the chief executive's office, new challenges loomed on the horizon. The rise of artificial intelligence, the emergence of cryptocurrency, and the changing preferences of a new generation of investors would all test her ability to bridge the gap between Fidelity's traditional strengths and the demands of an increasingly digital future. In the winter of 2014, as Abigail Johnson settled into her role as CEO of Fidelity Investments, the financial industry stood at a crossroads. The old certainties, the supremacy of active management, the willingness of investors to pay premium fees for professional guidance, the dominance of traditional financial institutions, were eroding. A new generation of competitors had emerged, tech-savvy startups offering automated investment advice at a fraction of traditional costs, index funds that promised market returns without the expense of active management, digital platforms that gave retail investors direct access to the markets. For Johnson, whose grandfather had built Fidelity on the principle of active management, these changes posed an existential challenge. The methods that had served the firm for decades were being questioned not just by competitors, but by the fundamental shifts in how Americans approached investing. Yet Johnson, who had spent decades studying both markets and technological change, recognized that adaptation would require more than simple reaction. It would demand transformation. The decisions she made in the following years revealed a strategy that balanced innovation with institutional stability. In 2018, when Fidelity launched its zero-fee index funds, the move sent shockwaves through the industry. Competitors questioned how a firm built on active management could embrace such a radical departure from traditional fee structures. But Johnson understood something deeper. In the digital age, scale and technological efficiency could create new forms of value. The same year, as cryptocurrency began to emerge from the shadows of speculation into mainstream finance, Johnson made another decisive move. The establishment of Fidelity Digital Assets marked not just an entry into a new market, but a bridge between the traditional financial world and the frontier of digital assets. While other institutions hesitated, concerned about regulatory uncertainty and market volatility, Johnson positioned Fidelity at the intersection of old and new finance. The true test of these strategic shifts came with the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020. As market volatility reached historic levels and millions of Americans, confined to their homes, turned to online trading, Fidelity's systems faced unprecedented demands. The surge of 8.6 million new retail accounts in a single year would have overwhelmed many organizations. But the technological infrastructure Johnson had insisted on building proved equal to the challenge. Throughout this period of rapid change, Fidelity's private ownership structure, a legacy of both her father's and grandfather's belief in institutional independence, proved crucial. Without the pressure of quarterly earnings reports or activist shareholders, Johnson could pursue long-term transformation while maintaining the firm's commitment to service quality. Even as fee compression squeezed industry margins, Fidelity continued to invest in technology and customer service. And yet, in 2024, Abigail Johnson successfully leads Fidelity as it manages $13.7 trillion in total assets, including $5.3 trillion in discretionary assets, serving over 40 million individual investors. Under her leadership, Fidelity has expanded beyond its traditional mutual fund business while maintaining its position as a leading provider of retirement services and investment management. And Fidelity's evolution during Johnson's tenure reflects broader changes in financial services. The company has developed cryptocurrency services through Fidelity Digital Assets, enhanced its retail trading platforms, and expanded digital advice offerings. These initiatives complement Fidelity's core strengths in retirement services and institutional asset management. Today, Fidelity operates at the intersection of traditional investment management and financial technology. As Johnson guides the firm through industry transformation, her focus remains on maintaining Fidelity's independence while adapting to changing market conditions and client needs. The company's continued success will depend on executing this strategy effectively in an increasingly competitive landscape. And now, we'd love to see you in the comments. Had you heard of Abigail Johnson and her monumental fortune before? Perhaps, if you're a native of New England, you know all about it. Let us know your thoughts below, and thanks for joining us for another episode of Old Money Luxury. Cheers, until next time.